Hey, welcome back once again, Hidden Acres Outdoors. Today, let's talk about tractor backhoes. We're going to talk about one with a subframe mount. In my case, that happens to be a BY85 from TYM, and that fits my TYM 574 tractor to a T. All right, first of all, I want to preface this. This is going to be a beginner backhoe instructional video because a lot of people will get one of these on their new compact or subcompact tractor and not have a clue what they're trying to do. And I mean, you can figure it out. It's not all that hard, but let's start with some of the basics first. And I don't have that much experience on a backhoe, and I'm not going to say I stayed last night at a Holiday Inn Express, but my brother used to do this for a living. One of my brothers used to do this for a living, and buddy, he was a magician with a backhoe. He had a full-size backhoe, and the first thing you need to get into your head as a beginner is that if you've got one mounted on the back of your compact or some subcompact tractor, it is an attachment. It is not a backhoe implement like a professional uses all the time for digging swimming pools and all that kind of stuff. But let's take a look and see what this thing is. Go over a little nomenclature. I'll show you how the controls work on it, and we'll talk about the best thing you can do to start with on learning how to use this thing. All right, let's start with some basic nomenclature so we're all on the same page. And these terms may vary depending on what part of the country you live in, but this is the boom. And this is the part, I'll show you the controls for that in a minute, but this is the part that raises and lowers and extends out a little bit. This part would be the stick, and that's what connects to your bucket. You'll see I've got a thumb on my bucket. Most of them don't come with that. A thumb is a good thing to have, but it's not necessary. But if you can afford it, I would highly recommend that you get a thumb for your attachment. And you can get different size buckets. I've got this bucket, I think is an 18-inch bucket. Don't hold me to that. It's the standard size bucket that comes on this backhoe. But I also have a 9-inch bucket, and that's what I would do trenching work with around the house for drain lines and that kind of stuff. You also have your outriggers, and you've got one on each side. Go by what your tractor manufacturer says, because that's going to be the only way you're going to get any warranty repair if you mess something up. I have seen a lot of very famous YouTube channel creators that will say take your outriggers down and elevate your rear tires off the ground. And if that's what your tractor recommendation is, that's what the manufacturer says, by all means go for it. But these are not stressed like a real live backhoe is stressed. So my particular manufacturer, the TYM, you put these outriggers down just enough to take a little bit of weight off the rear tires. You don't elevate the rear tires off the ground. When you do that, you will also take your front bucket and drop it down to add some braking power, so that when you're pulling back with your backhoe, you're not moving the tractor as much. If you look and see how far extended my hydraulic links are now, you don't want to take your bucket and turn it straight down and stick it into the ground, because that extends these links a long ways. And when you do that, you put more stress on your hydraulic cylinders, and that's not a good thing. You just want a little extra braking power. So what I'm going to do is take this bucket and take it just past the level indication to where my front tooth bar sticks just a little bit into the ground, but yet I don't have these hydraulic cylinders all the way extended, and that keeps me from putting a whole lot of stress on those. And I will add, you don't want to pick your front tires up off the ground with your bucket when you're doing this. Now, with a regular, a true-to-life backhoe tractor, you can do that. And that's what most of them do, is they pick the entire weight of the tractor up off the ground, and you have it resting on the front end, and you have it resting on these outriggers here in the back, and you're kind of hovering with a tractor, and that gives you the greatest stability, but that puts a lot of stress on your tractor frame. You don't want to crack your tractor frame, because then, brother, you got a headache you don't want to be fooling with. So let's crank this thing up. I'm going to extend the outriggers, show you how the basic controls of this thing work, and then we're going to start digging a trench and talk a little bit about technique. All right, I hope you can hear this over the tractor noise. If not, I'll just have to do a voiceover. But the first thing you need to do is something I already forgot to do. Let me run back around front real quick and drop that front bucket into the ground like I said, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're back. First thing we did, we set the parking brake. We pushed it in as far as we could get it. We just did a little bit of bite into the bucket, put that into the ground, took just a little bit of weight off the front tires. Now we're going to set our outriggers. The way we're going to do that are these two little levers up here. One for the left, one for the right. Pull it towards you, the outrigger comes up. Push it away from you, the outrigger goes down. And all you want to do is get a little bit of weight off the rear tires. Do not, unless your tractor manufacturer says it's good to go, do not elevate your entire tractor just on these outriggers. That's not what these are designed for on this size tractor. We'll do the same thing with the right. Always, always, always put the low side outrigger down first so you don't inadvertently turn your butt over. This is the boom control. It lowers the boom, I'm sure you've heard that, and it raises the boom. It also moves the boom left and right. So we'll bring it back to about center. This is the stick control. It pivots from up here at the top, and just watch what it does. It will pivot the bucket out. Up to straight out. And you're going to use this a bunch. If you're like digging a trench or anything you're doing, you're going to be using this, because it also, if you move left and right with it, it curls your bucket and it uncurls your bucket. Let me move this over so you can see it a little better. If I move this right hand switch to the left, it's just like your lift for your front end loader. It curls the bucket. Move this switch to the right, your bucket uncurls. And it's pretty simple operation, but you're going to be using this hand a whole lot. Once you get it out there, you're going to use this much more than you use this, because you're going to be bringing the bucket back to you, and that is going to change the angle that your bucket is digging at. So what you want to do is get it stuck out as far as you want it before you drop it down with the left hand, with the left boom. So if we wanted to start a hole right out here, pardon my French, my voice, I would drop it into the ground. I'd probably uncurl that just a bit more if I could. It's already uncurled. Drop it into the ground, and you don't want to try and drive as deep as you can possibly go at the get-go. What you're looking for is to start curling the bucket gently back towards you with your right hand, and it's going to put some stress. You'll feel it on the tractor frame, but what you're looking to do is curl this towards you at the same time you're uncurling your bucket. Now let me pick this straight up right here, and I'll show you what we're trying to get accomplished. I'm not worried about how much dirt I got in the bucket. Let's go look at the bucket for a second. You see this flat part of the bucket? You want to keep that as your digging angle. You're not trying to drive this thing into the ground and bring as big a scoop as you can get out at once. If you're digging a trench, you want that trench to be running level with the edge of this bucket. So as you pull back with this stick control, the one on the right, you are constantly uncurling this bucket and trying to make this stay as level as possible with the bottom of your trench. So let's go take a look at that and see how that works. And I'm going to try, and what I've got is I'm trying to dig a little drainage ditch that runs from here all the way up past our beehives along this whole side of the property to alleviate a little bit of water issues that we have. It's not going to be a deep ditch, it's just going to be a little drainage ditch, and we're not going to fill it in with gravel or anything else. It's just going to drain a ton of water off the land. I don't want to get it too deep because that is what is feeding my pond down here. So it's going to be very shallow, but it's just going to give the water somewhere to run, so that if we get 1.5 inches of rain in a couple of days, the rest of my field up here that you can't see doesn't get so muddy I can't work in it. Alright, so here we go, and this is going to be slow because I don't have anywhere to mount this camera at the moment to where you can see everything that's going on, and so I'm going to have to do all this one-handed. We're going to take the boom control. We've got it raised up as far as it'll go. We're going to take the stick control, move it out as far as we can get it, and then we're going to start lowering this with the left hand control, and we want to put this to where my teeth on the bucket are going to drive straight into the dirt, and then we're just going to lower the left, and that's all the way down, and then we're going to start pulling with the right, and at the same time, once we get a bite that we're looking for, we're going to start uncurling the bucket and continue to drag it back till we get a bite. And right about there, the bucket is level with the bottom of the trench, and that's a plenty big enough bite for your first pass on this. So now our only job is to pull back with this right stick and wiggle the bucket a little bit to try and maintain that level approach into the dirt to where we get a nice level bottom on our pull. This is difficult to do with one hand, believe me. Once you get used to it, it's not so hard, but now once we've got it like that and we've curled the bucket, we're going to pick that load up and we're going to slide it over here. Make sure you slide it at least 3 feet away from your pile, and then you can work on uncurling the bucket and dumping your spoils where you can get to them later to either fill something in, or what I'm going to do with it is use a lot of this spoilage to go in around the barn when I grade it. So this is not a very complicated job. It's actually a lot of fun when you get into it. So let's drop that down and play a little bit. I'm going to try to mount the camera here on this thing, but you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing with my hands, but you can see the technique that I'm using. I just explained it to you, so let's keep going. And when it won't pull back towards you anymore, you're going to have to raise up a little bit with your boom. That's your left control to where you get some movement out of your bucket. Don't overstress your equipment. It's easy to do, and you end up breaking something and making some tractor repair guy rich. Now, it's curled enough. We're going to pick it up, move it over here out of the way, and while you're learning this stuff, the best advice I can give you is to go slow. We'll push out on the right stick, move it to where we want the spoils dumped, uncurl the bucket, and there you go. Alright, for the newbie on one of these, I'm here to tell you, if you got a float position, use it until you learn what you're doing. It is so much easier, and the bottom of your trenches are going to be so much more level. Let's just run through that real quick. I'm going to try and do this. Shouldn't be too hard to do one-handed because we're going to be using the float position on the boom. So let me turn you around here. But the technique is once you take your boom, get it moved over where you want it, you can extend the stick as far as you need to. Take this and push it all the way forward into the detent position, and now it's locked. Take your right hand, start curling the bucket towards you until you get the bottom of that bucket part level that we talked about earlier. And I don't know if you can see that, but we're just about there right now. Then we're just going to start pulling back with the right hand stick and uncurling the bucket a little bit at the same time to keep the bucket flat against the bottom of our trench. As the bucket comes to you, it's naturally, the teeth are going to start curling up even if you don't do anything. So you've got to uncurl the bucket by moving this to the right, and we'll just keep moving it back. I hope you can see what's going on here. And so we're pulling it back, pulling it back. It's getting a little bit too upright with the cut, so we just bump it a tad to the right with this back stick, and it's going to keep our bottom of our bucket more level. And then we're just going to continue to pull back. And it's just little iterations, back and forth. And we're almost where we need to move the tractor up again. And when you get to a point like this, and you've got a bucket full, go ahead and take your left hand switch, curl it all the way under, then you can take it out of detent, pick it up, move your spoils over to the side, and it helps to keep, if you're digging a deep hole, to go ahead and use the boom to help move some of your spoils out of the way as you dump this. I don't have to really worry about that here, and it's hard to do one-handed, but you can just push it out like that and then try and dump your spoils over there. But using the float position on your backhoe, if you have it and you're a newbie at this, is the way to go. We'll do a lot more videos using this backhoe later on and doing different projects with it. Now we can dig holes. We got to put some landscaping in and stuff like that. So stay tuned. We'll give you all the backhoe learning tips for your subcompact or compact tractor. And until then, just take a look at what we got left on here. And if you like this, give us a like, subscribe. Does good things for us. We'll see you next time from Ben Niggers Outdoors. Bye.